It's Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance in Sacramento today, and we are joined by Pat Bates. She is a member of the California State Senate. And Senator, I'll tell you a quick story. About 2 years ago, I was sitting right here, and in that chair was a state senator who the next morning was arrested. You're not going to be arrested. Leland Yee was arrested.
Yes.
It was a surreal moment. We discussed criminal justice reform. Who knew he'd be in the criminal justice system? We took a picture. It was the last picture he tweeted. It got retweeted everywhere. And I bring this up because he, in some ways, is motivation for you on a bill that you're proposing. On FBI tapes, he spoke about his ability to raise funds beyond campaign limits if there was a contribution to his committee for a ballot measure, as opposed to his campaign.
Correct.
Tell me about that motivation and more about your proposal.
Certainly when that happened, Brad, it affects the people's confidence in their government.
Right.
And certainly there's so much attention on how much money comes into politics that I think people are disenchanted, detached from government. And this gave me an opportunity. This isn't a new idea. It did surface several years ago, but it didn't get anywhere. And I think FPPC was very concerned, but the judge or the court said it needs legislative, it has to be legislative initiatives. So this was the opportunity. I will say that I worked with Senator Lee on a number of issues when I was on the Board of Supervisors.
Right.
So I was very disappointed and saddened that he got himself in this kind of trouble.
It was quite a shock. No one saw it coming.
Was.
He did receive a 5-year sentence, not so much with regard to that specific statement, but his overall corrupt activities.
Right.
The question becomes, though, what you're looking to do is, under your proposal, 1467, if a committee is controlled by a candidate, the limit set for that candidate, let's say if it was given to his direct committee or her direct committee, would apply. How do we define a candidate-controlled committee?
It is something I, as a senator, can open up a ballot measure committee.
Right.
It has no campaign contribution limit. Yet, as a candidate committee for senator, I have a campaign contribution limit. So it's been a loophole, a way to get around that $4,200 contribution and use it. Unfortunately, let's use the term slush fund so that I can promote myself as the major message of that candidate-controlled ballot measure committee, but I'm really promoting myself, and that's where it goes sideways.
How can we prevent, though, someone else opening a committee, and it really become a candidate-controlled committee? I mean, I guess there are always loopholes, but at least you're trying to close one.
Correct. Well, that can be an independent expenditure committee that promotes, let's say, transportation, a transportation initiative. And Senator Bates is behind this, so I get a little play with that, but I have no connection to that, and I can't have, legally, I cannot have any connection.
I understand,
So there is a lot, there is a firewall there, but with this one, what's currently available, there's no firewall. It is a huge loophole, and I think it attracts when people really need to raise money. And we know Senator Yee was in a very difficult situation with debt. It was an opportunity to try to reduce campaign debt
and that's
using that, and that's not legal.
It's the irony about the Senator Yee debacle is that he was not embezzling for personal aggrandizement. He was raising money to run for mayor of San Francisco.
Correct.
It actually pained me when I saw that because it shows the pressures that you all face to raise money. I mean, you represent a district of almost 1 million people.
Yes.
I mean, some states are smaller than 1 million people. So in the era, though, of Citizens United and independent expenditures, is it enough to engage in this type of fix?
I think it's the beginning, and we want that so the public knows that we care. As individuals, we are taxpayers also. We want to ensure that the people that represent us are doing that honestly, openly, and really in the public's interest, and not specifically our own personal interest.
I want to shift gears and talk about something that has interested you since you've been in local government, and that is the scourge of illegal drugs and illicit drugs. And I have learned, not only from you, Senator, but from elected officials up and down the state, that synthetic drugs are now becoming a pock on our society. And there is one specifically called, I had not heard of it, fentanyl, which apparently is a synthetic opioid that is 50 to 100 times stronger than morphine or heroin.
Correct. It is a very frightening drug, and the information was brought to me by local law enforcement as the incidence of DUIs increased significantly, I believe 100%. People were under the influence of this drug. The other very frightening thing is it is transdermal. If someone has used it, has it on their person, you're a first responder to save them from, let's say, an automobile accident, and you get it on your skin, it can be transferred and you can suffer the effects of that, which can be coma, it can be seizures. So it's a very dangerous drug, and people using it have no idea of its strength and its toxicity in the system.
And what's remarkable is how cheap it is to make.
Yes.
And that's what becomes particularly dangerous, is that when folks can access a drug like this with a better high and cheaper than heroin or morphine or whatever other opioid is their drug of choice, it becomes that much more dangerous.
Yes. It's a scourge. It truly is, in terms of it's supposed to be used for people in extreme pain where the other drugs have not worked.
I see.
So it has a very noble purpose. But obviously, when the drug cartels got into the production, it's become extremely dangerous, and certainly with young people who take things and without any knowledge, it can be a death warrant.
So what are you hoping to do with your bill, SB 1323?
We are increasing the penalties, and it's really important to understand it's the people who are producing it, because it's Prop 47 that the people who illegally possess, they have a different track they're going to follow, hopefully be rehabilitated and out of the, their addiction curbed. But this really focuses on those who are producing it, and if you are distributing it, you are going to suffer on conviction and increased penalties.
I mean, there's no question that Prop 47 changed the way we look at drug sentencing. If you're merely in possession, it becomes a misdemeanor as opposed to a wobbler or a felony. But Prop 47 is very clear that distribution is seen as an evil that we need to stamp out. But my question becomes, we have these cross currents. We have AB 109 prison realignment, which was trying to decrease the size of the state prison population. Then we have Prop 47, which actually has decreased the size of the prison population and the local jail population. But the governor still has been reticent to sign bills which increase penalties because he's still a little queasy about the need to keep prison populations down. Do you feel as if, Senator, that with Prop 47 decreasing populations, that maybe the governor now will be willing to look at increased penalties?
I do, and I think it's on balance, Brad. We have to look at what is the most dangerous thing out there to the public. This is this drug is a vehicle for drug cartels, and we know what they have brought to our country. Serious criminality, murders, hostage, the human trafficking. So I think he will be looking on balance. What is the most important thing to put these really bad guys in prison versus rehabilitation, misdemeanor county jails? And I'm not saying county jails it's not a pleasant place to be. But the short term, I don't think gives the opportunity to really make a difference in curbing this kind of activity.
And are your friends on the Democratic side, are they looking kindly at this? Because ultimately we need bipartisan support, presumably, to get this through the legislature.
Well, my last bill, which was more prison time for those who cut off their GPS bracelets, it got all the way to the governor's desk with only one no vote. So I think they're looking at public safety. Yeah, I'm hopeful.
Her name is Pat Bates. She is a member of the California State Senate. My name is Brad Pomerance in Sacramento. This is Local Edition.